Hey, today we're going to talk about 9.8, invasive species. So take a moment, check out the enduring understanding, look at the learning objective, pause the video, review the essential knowledge, and set up your Cornell notes. So an invasive species is just somebody that invaded another area, and they have some characteristics that make them successful and a real problem. Recall that invasive species is one of the HIPCOs, it's the I for HIPCO, and it can lead to biodiversity loss. So for starter, they don't have any natural predators in the area that they're invading. So therefore, their population is not controlled by a natural means. They're also highly competitive. So they're aggressive feeders or fast growers. Either way, they're taking advantage of the resources that are available in this new area, and their populations are increasing. They will thrive in their new habitats as a result, and a lot of that is because they are R-selected species and generalists. R-selected species take advantage of resources and increase their populations very rapidly, and generalist means they have a wide range of tolerance. R-selected species, this is what their graph would look like when we were doing population ecology. But you should really understand that, like, basically invasive species, they're like the new kid on the block, and ain't nobody gonna touch them. All right, so here's some examples. I'm gonna go through, made these cute little wanted posters. Appreciate them or hate them, it's up to you. But basically we had the pythons. Now this is invasive in Florida, especially in the Everglades. Now they were brought to Florida as pets, and in true Floridian fashion, let's just put them outside, get rid of them, I don't want it anymore. So they were released into the wild, where they reduced the mammal populations. Raccoons were reduced by 99%, opossums 99%, bobcats, which are a predator, were reduced 88%. They don't have natural predators, and they're also, if you see right here, like, they're also eating a lot of alligators, and alligators are the apex predator in South Florida. Actually, in probably all of Florida, except for maybe a panther, or I guess a panther could be an apex predator as well. However, this is a problem in Florida. Now, the kudzu vine was a vine that's native to Asia. It was planted here in the United States to reduce soil erosion, but it outcompetes native plants, and it basically is fighting for the sunlight, and this is taking over like an entire area. It can cover trees, it can cover up an entire house, a building, any sort of man-made structure. It will cover it up if there's an open spot where it can take hold and take advantage of the sunlight. And there's no herbivores here that will control it. So basically, one of the things that we've had to do is, like, just pull it up by the roots. The best thing about vines, well, a good thing and a bad thing is the vines have one major root, but then as they send out their little shoots, they can form little new roots. So it becomes an issue when you're trying to eliminate a large web of vines. Zebra mussels are a big problem here in New York. They were transported originally in ships in their ballast water. So the ballast water is to make sure that a ship is going to have, a cargo ship is going to have cargo on it that weighs it down. But when you drop off all that cargo, the ship is not as heavy, it's a little more buoyant, so it'll float up. So they have this ballast water that kind of keeps them at the same mass, so they have the same buoyancy, so they're not just floating up and down. Besides, when you're going across an ocean, you want to be a little bit lower, so if there is a storm event, you're not like wobbling, so you want to be deeper down into the ground. So they add this ballast water to maintain their stability. The problem is they would pick up the ballast water maybe from a Great Lake, and with that ballast water they had a zebra mussel, they go to another lake or they go out to the ocean, they release some of their water, and then with it comes those zebra mussels. So zebra mussels they're kind of good for the water quality, I guess you could say, but they will clean the water of pollutants. They're aggressive filter feeders. They can take not only pollutants out of the water, but also valuable nutrients. They can lay 1 million eggs a year, And another problem is they can clog intake pipes. You may have seen zebra mussels. If you go to the beach, you see like those, they have like those big giant wooden pillars in the ocean, like out on the jetties. And you'll see, like, if you go up to them on some of the rocks out there, you got just mussel. Now, they might not all be zebra mussels, but they are mussels, and zebra mussels are small like that. It's not really, it wouldn't make any difference if you pulled one off, because pulling one off or going there and sitting there, like, you would have to work nonstop around the clock for probably the rest of your life, and you still wouldn't even make a dent removing the zebra mussels. So unfortunately, we may be stuck with them. It's more of an issue of controlling their populations and keeping them from spreading. The Asian carp was brought in to control algae growth in aquaculture ponds, and then it escaped to the Mississippi River, and it spread to other areas, and it is a very highly competitive species, so it can outcompete native species. And eventually it reduced the production in nearby fisheries, which reduced profits for the fishermen. The emerald ash borer is, it typically transports via firewood, and it doesn't really transport as this organism, but what it does is the larval stage burrows into the wood, and it can disrupt the phloem, which is the way it transports the nutrients and the sugar. So the xylem brings the water up, the phloem brings the nutrients and the sugar down, and when it disrupts that wooden part of the tree, it can kill the tree. And as a result of global warming, its range is expanding, and this could be a major problem for trees around the world. The cane toad, they're bad. They're also poisonous. So, cane toads were brought into Australia to eat cane beetles because the beetles were destroying the sugarcane crop. However, the cane toad didn't just eat the beetles, they ate pretty much whatever they found that they could eat. This one is eating a mouse or some rodent. They had a huge appetite. Another problem is they don't really have predators because they secrete toxins. So cane toads are now showing up in the United States as well, and they're bad, especially for pets. Like, if you have a dog that goes and licks a cane toad, it could potentially be toxic depending on how much they got of the toxins. But the toxins are a defense mechanism, and it's an adaptation to help prevent predation on the cane toad. But again, it impacted other populations, and these were non-target organisms. It was brought in to target the beetles, but then it ended up eating lots of other organisms. These are some other invasive species. Purple loosestrife, not really heard so much about in the East Coast, but this was a major one. It was brought as an ornamental plant where I'm from, Minnesota, and it's aquatic, or lives in aquatic areas, so it now is taking over all of the lakes in Minnesota, and it's a major problem because what happens is you ride your boat around, you get some of this stuck on your boat propeller. Okay, let's go to the next lake, or let's drive it, and the spores or the seeds can survive. So when you move to another lake, you can dislodge that material, that plant, and it can take root there. A nutria looks like a giant rat. Well, that's kind of what it is. It's a giant rat, and these are found in, I saw a bunch of these when I was in New Orleans. They live in the swamps down in New Orleans. They are invasive down there, but they're basically a big giant rat. And one of the things that people are doing is now having recipes serving nutria to try to make them a food item for humans. One that's a problem in New York is the Asian longhorn beetle. So if you ever see one of these, kill them. But don't just kill anything. Make sure it got that long horn and it's black and white. I haven't ever seen an Asian longhorn beetle, but there are signs in different parks saying that they have been spotted. But this is an invasive species that's very well known in New York. So to control invasive species, some things that you should do. You want to prevent their transport, okay? So take away the hosts. Take away, if there's a dead tree that died from an invasive species, get rid of it, Like dig it up, get rid of it, burn it if you have to. You don't want any possibility of there being any eggs or any larval stages or any juveniles that will move somewhere else. Clean your boat as you're moving, whether it's a boat for cargo ship. Clean the ballast water, remove any sort of stowaways that you might have. If you can introduce natural predators, Chinese wasps are natural predators of the emerald ash borer, but then you run the risk of those species that you brought in also becoming invasive. So that is a major problem or a major concern that must be considered. And finally, one of the more common ones nowadays is physical removal, like hunting them, cutting down the trees, cutting the organisms, digging them up, pulling them by their roots, eliminating them. One of the big draws is, especially with the nutria, I've never tasted nutria, but I think everything kind of tastes like chicken, doesn't it? But basically you could, it could be a food source for humans. And if you have a lot of good recipes, you bread anything and deep fry it, it's going to taste good on a sandwich. So make it into a patty. Nutria patties, perfect, done. All right, I just solved the problem. What are the impacts of invasive species? All right, the major one, obviously biodiversity loss, but here's what leads up to that. So we could lose agricultural and fishery productivity. There's going to be more competition, and then they're going to consume the product that we're trying to produce. There could be a reduction in tourism. The aesthetics might not be good. It's everything looks ugly. Maybe they chewed up all the leaves on the trees, and now the trees don't look pretty. People don't want to go there to visit. That's one thing. There could also be restrictions on travel, because if you're not, if there's an outbreak in a certain lake of an aquatic invasive species, maybe they will outlaw visit and tourism in a certain area because of that, because they don't want somebody transporting an invasive species to another area. Your property value could decline. If you had a kudzu vine everywhere and you had this beautiful lush backyard and then it's covered with kudzu vine, nobody's going to want to buy your property unless you get rid of that. And finally, there's a lot of expenses controlling these invasive species, but also removing them. Getting rid of them entirely is very expensive, and it's a long drawn out process because you want to make sure that there is no trace of them whatsoever. There are invasive species that are appearing all the time, and there are numerous ones. However, the ones that are now, you might hear about an invasive species coming up. The spotted lanternfly is a new one that has come up. Lionfish. It just depends on, I don't think you're going to need to know anything about a particular invasive species, like anyone in particular, but I would definitely pick one or two that you're like, okay, I could get behind that one. And one that you're going to remember, because you will definitely have to write about an invasive species at some point. Oh, and that point is right now. So what I would like you to do for your FRQ practice is identify a specific example of an invasive species and propose a solution to limit the spread of that invasive species. I hope that this video was informative. I thank you for your attention. I will see you soon.